Hey everyone, I'm David Gacsko.
Natalie Black.
From Hierarchy. We're here to give you another installment of Highsight, but as you can see, we're changing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
We're turning it up the tech. Actually, we're at first time back in the office, so we're super excited to be together and be here with you. So Natalie, what are we talking about today?
Well, I will say it's great to actually talk to you outside of a little 6-inch square.
So true.
And yeah, we're Hierarchy headquarters. And today, since the world's been going crazy and there's a lot of stuff going on, I thought it was high time that we talk about brand activism. Considering that the protests have been going on, they're getting bigger and bigger in smaller towns, which is great. And it's really forced brands to kind of acknowledge what's going on in the culturescape, in the world, and systemic racism. And so being that we are marketers and we're both members of marginalized communities and oppressed communities, I feel like we're good candidates to actually talk about this on both fronts.
I think so too.
Yeah. So I know a couple of years ago, we walked through some of our largest clients in this macro trend, which was glass box brands, right? And the idea that consumers really want to see what's going on, what your philosophy is about, how brands are making an impact locally and globally, and what do they actually stand for? Because dollars are actually now tied to value, right? Especially when we see those millennial customers. So you have a lot of corporate CSR initiatives going on. That's where you saw the big landing pages and even sometimes the advertising commercials about where companies stand in the community. And some companies like Target for a while had placed emphasis on one or two pillars to focus on, right? Then you have all the employees come and volunteer. I mean, it's a great effort. That's no longer good enough.
No.
So as we see with the protests, the first wave was acknowledging Black Lives Matter, right? You had the whole organized Blackout Tuesday at folks, or I should say brands, and I include influencers in that category as well. I'm posting messages of solidarity. Pre-COVID, or even a year ago, that would have been just fine.
Yes. Check
No
the
longer.
box.
Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely done. We've acknowledged it. So interestingly enough, we see that now brands are specifically calling out BLM. Right? So they feel like we've said it. So let's be done with it. Now, the big reckoning is coming from consumers. They're like, what next? What are you going to do? Where are you putting your dollars? What are you actually going to do to change? And I think that's sending brand America scrambling.
So it's a really good point. I don't think it's, just exact, kind of what you said, just checking the box. It's not just that email, it's not the landing page. It's, not that social media post, but it's like, where are we going to go? What organizations are we going to partner with? Where are we going to make a change for our employees and our culture?
That's right.
And really kind of bring that to life.
That's right. I think we had this offline. We have these great offline conversations before we sit down and try to pour everything out on video. And we were talking about culture, right? So I'm calling it a reckoning. It is a reckoning. You see it across, all over the world. But there's an internal reckoning because now companies have to address what's going on internally with their workforce. So there's the strict D&I measures, right? And that's really an issue of compliance, right? So are they, again, checking the boxes, but really understanding, well, why haven't they made as much advancement as necessary? So there isn't this tower moment. Again, I keep calling them tower moments, right? This 2020 has been one big, massive tower moment.
Tower moment, put on your glasses.
That's right.
Put on your glasses for looking behind you, like
That's
literally
right.
all of it.
It's all it is.
I'm
It's
actually really thankful for 2020. It's as challenging as it's been. I think if we come out the other side of this with some really, really solid understandings and deeper understandings of each other, hopefully we can move forward in a more unified, positive light. But everybody's got their work to do.
Yeah, no, I think we'll absolutely move forward, right? We just have to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable. Everybody's uncomfortable across the board. And that's okay, right? And so when you're having these conversations individually with your network or with your internal teams, there isn't going to be a solution that's going to come out of this right away. I think it's okay to have I hate to say the word list, but it's okay to make some steps, some incremental action steps, 100%. Right? And then from a consumer-facing aspect, I always say give permission, ask permission, right? So that's when you will pull in your target audience or your consumers to say, listen, we want to hear from you. What have we been doing wrong? What can we do better? And then incorporate those into your initiatives. That's where we talked about it, where innovation happens. We expect, what did you say, innovation to be rigid and to be systematic?
Yep.
And it doesn't always work out that way.
It doesn't. It needs to have that empathy and that softness. Working with it, not just have it being these right angles. And we just think of innovation, or innovation's a straight line. It isn't. We've got to really bring in that human and emotional element into innovation as we move forward. I mean, I think it's gotten us thus far, but it's been very, very clinical. Yeah. And I think we have to bring that human element into it now.
No, for sure. Human beings, we are fluid. We're influenced by, even though we have pattern behavior, we're influenced by our environment. Experience, perspective, those dynamics change constantly. So I think that what we're also seeing, again, with this reckoning, is that the operationalizing of human behavior and brand marketing is no longer effective.
Correct.
Right? So even if there were no protests, we knew that there was a problem there. It can't be business as usual. But now it's being forced not to have business as usual, right? So now, what do you do?
We can't let that go. And I think the one thing that we do really well is we bring that psychographic into it, right? And brands have to be, and we can help you with this, but brands need to be so tuned into that now. Yeah. And the nuances within each community. It's not just the blanket community, right? It's the nuances in each community. I mean, I can talk about it as an LGBT person, and supporting the LGBT community as part of a business alliance. It's like, it isn't just the whole community. It's just making sure that we know the nuances of the community and when it's the right time to speak to them and make them always feel included. Yeah. And I think some of the reports that we've done for some of our clients have been eye-opening for them to even be brought aware of the minutia that's in there. Now you can't always get into the weeds, but you need to know who's there, right?
You absolutely do.
And if we don't get to that level, especially now, I think you're going to lose.
Yeah. No, it's easy to categorize everyone, right, and put everybody in buckets. But back in the day, I know when we started our careers in marketing and advertising, it was, everything was general market, and then you had multicultural marketing.
Correct.
And they would lump everything, LGBT, Black, Hispanic,
everything.
Everything in that. And well, that's no longer going to work, right? Yeah. And so now you have CSR initiatives, which is everything from social, environmental responsibility. It'll lump in your D&I initiatives, and we see that's not working either. And then little iterations of my career working in the D&I space, you talk about big brands that really focus on diversity marketing, right? But the leadership is not diverse. And so then they say things like, oh, it's a pipeline problem. And it's really not a pipeline problem. It's lots of qualified professionals of every ilk out there. It's just, it's a positioning problem. You're not targeting them.
Correct.
You're not looking for them in the right places.
Right.
And let's be real, there is unconscious bias, right? It's human nature for us to want to be around people who look or think like us. That's okay. That's okay to acknowledge, right? I think you seek out new experiences and innovation by stepping outside of that category. So acknowledging that, and then going, where can we look for the pockets? Where are the market opportunities? Where are the pipeline opportunities? All these things. So then it becomes, all of it is general market.
And you said it earlier, uncomfortable to be comfortable.
Yeah.
That's where the growth is.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
And it's honestly, I think it has to be the new reality for all brands. I don't care, small, big, whatever, that those uncomfortable spaces are where we have to go. We're going to either keep or we're going to lose some people that have already been there or don't necessarily agree with what we're doing or what a brand is promoting, and that's okay. You can make a pivot, but make an authentic pivot and be consistent in the future execution of that pivot or your evolved beliefs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about what we're seeing right now. So we're seeing brands say, okay, well, we're donating to social justice reform. Black Lives Matter. I've even seen, massive hires. So Harper's Bazaar just hired their first Black editor-in-chief.
Yeah, I
right?
saw that.
So we're going to see that. I think those kinds of advancements are great, right? Like, so David and I were joking earlier, Black people, we're really trendy right now. Everybody wants to talk to a Black person, which is great. Look,
we've already been through that. We've already been through that.
That's
like
right.
we're history.
That's
so
right.
It's your time now.
So, but we're going to see that. We're going to see this hyper focus on or overcorrection of past wrongs, and I say run with it, keep them moving, but let's make sure that this is not short-sighted, right? A year from now, we don't want to see.
Keep an eye, like that pendulum, like you said, is all the way over here. Well, I'm anxious to see where it ends up and make sure that we stay on course, like you're saying, and we don't fall off, right?
Yeah.
And go back to being silent or non-vigilant or what have you, but I agree. Like, we're way over there, and it's super exciting. It's super exciting.
It is.
Take your moment, girl. Take your moment.
Take the moment. But we have to make sure that moment sticks, like you said. So I think it's having the dialogue, the give permission, ask permission. We have to build the ally system. We have to make sure that everything it's a holistic approach.
I mean, think about the centennials that were Gen Z that were that are in this right now, right? I mean, they are the most affected.
Yeah.
I mean, you have young kids. This is. I'm actually somewhat excited for them as our future consumers because they're not going to be so grounded in that historical way, and we still have a chance to hopefully work on this new way with them and let them be our future consumers and see this positivity that's happening. Yeah, because I really do feel that it's positive.
Yeah. They're seeing human empathy at work. They're seeing that their voices can be heard. They can make a change. That just because the system is in place, that you don't have to tolerate that system. Yeah. And you can change the world for better. So that is a profound thing to watch happen. And it really is, again, from a career perspective, great to see that there's some shit happening.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think one word that you did, and I think it's really strong for consumers and for brands to remember, is that they don't have to tolerate anymore. That's right. It's not, again, we've talked about this previous video, like it's not just one way anymore. They have to listen, and they've got to listen to their consumers. It's knowing them, knowing the nuances, but they have to listen to them and really watch of what they're doing. And I think, again, that's one of the things that we do really well for our clients is we're watching what's going on in the market, and we're very, very intimate of every individual. I mean, I'll put it even beyond consumers, like, it's very transactional, but the individual, to watch how they're moving and what they're requiring.
Yeah, and I want to say this, and because we can go on for hours, but one thing that I like that we do really well, and I think it's going to be a trend, not because we set the trend, but just with everything that's going on, is that we talk about integrating the different. You can no longer be just a specialist like in HR, and then there's marketing and branding. Everybody's got to come and sit at the table because they're all stewards of the brand. And then you've got your employees who are ultimately your consumers, right, out, and your advocates. So it's no longer specializing or categorizing people just for the sake of that, for ease of use, excuse me. It's bringing everybody there, talking, and I call it, it's almost like having a brand therapy session.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's incredible, and there's so much more to talk about on this subject, and we'll be doing more videos on this to keep you engaged. And I think we still have yet to do a live session, but this might actually be one that we really, really need to do.
Absolutely. Because
I think as you're talking about all those partners coming together, that forms the new culture, right?
Absolutely.
So stay tuned for more. Natalie Black, David Gacsko, Hierarchy. Make sure you subscribe because there's going to be great stuff, and every time our technology is going to get a little bit better. So see y'all soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.